Good morning, everyone. My name is Constable Dani McKinnon. I'm a public information officer with the Winnipeg Police Service. Today we have one matter to release on. It's a sexual exploitation investigation that was taken by the Sex Crimes Unit. In October 2023, the Winnipeg Police Service's Sex Crimes Unit received information about a sexually exploitive relationship that occurred between an adult hockey coach and a player between the years of 2019 and 2021. The accused coach within the organization of Hockey Manitoba from 2018 to 2023. Investigators learned that the accused forged an inappropriate sexual relationship by grooming and gaining the trust of the survivor. The coach was in her 20s and the survivor was in her teens at the time of these incidents. Although the offenses began while the survivor was being coached by the accused, the coercion and the abuse continued after she stopped playing hockey. On November 9th, yesterday, a 28-year-old female, Madison Biluk of Winnipeg, was charged with 15 offenses. Sexual assault, sexual exploitation, sexual interference, invitation to sexual touching, as well a number of luring charges regards to means of telecommunication and transmitting, making available, and distributing sexually explicit material to a person under 18 years of age, as well as a number of making others, distributing, sells, or possession for the purpose and distribution of child pornography. As well, possession of child pornography, assault with a weapon, and assault. The accused has been released by way of Crown authorized conditions. I'd like to include that this investigation is continuing. Anyone with information or who wishes to speak to an investigator in the Sex Crimes Unit can call the number 204-986-6245. Very important to note that there are supportive resources available, including the WPS Victim Services Unit, 986-6350, and Clinic Sexual Assault Crisis Line, which is 204-786-8631. And as always, there's an option to call Crime Stoppers and report anonymously via the tips line or online. The Winnipeg Police Service appreciates the assistance of the following organizations: Hockey Winnipeg, Hockey Manitoba, and Hockey Canada, who were aware of this investigation. Educational information can be found on the Winnipeg Police website. There's a link if you're looking at this live on our website. I'll take a few minutes and answer a few questions if you have some.
So, Dani, at this point, police is working with one victim. I mean, do you believe there could be more, or is it the investigation is continuing, correct?
This investigation, this release, is based on one survivor. There's always a potential, of course, when you're looking at a very large organization. But at this time, we don't have anybody else that we're speaking with, and we just want to make that very clear that this is based on one individual that we've interviewed.
Did the coach coach multiple teams, one team? Are you able to say it's within the organization?
So you might have to do a little bit of your own research. I'm not going to speak in terms of all of the branches of the hockey organizations, but Hockey Manitoba is a governing body that oversees a number of different teams. I'm not going to get into the specific teams or locations of where the coach worked.
I see there's one of the charges is luring under 16. I mean, did this allegedly begin when the victim was under 16 and continue? Is that fair?
Well, that's fair to say, but I'm not going to get into the specifics of the entire age range. We want to make this as, private and anonymous as possible for the victim in this situation. Somebody else?
Notified about this case? Was it a family that came forward, somebody else that came forward? When did you start start investigating and why?
In October, we began the investigation. The Sex Crimes Unit received information from a third party.
A third party from victim?
Yes, it was not the victim who came forward initially.
And generally, where did this abuse occur? Was it at rinks, at home?
Well, as I described in the opening paragraph, a sexually exploitive relationship was forged, and it was over a period of approximately 2 years. So as you can imagine, no, this wasn't just limited to a rink scenario. This was a relationship that extended after hours over the course of this time with solitary meetings between the two people.
So if this
Jill.
teenager didn't know, or it was a third party that informed you, is the teenager being cooperative with you? Or the young woman, the survivor?
The survivor? Yes, absolutely. She's a phenomenal person. This is a very brave action. She took some steps on her own to reach out to the public, to some family members, and then eventually has spoken with police, and the report was formally carried on into an investigative stage.
So was the third party an organization like Clinic, for example, or was the third party a family friend or a family member? When you say that you were notified by a third party, what kind of third party are we?
What I can probably say, that's okay to say, is that it was a party within the hockey organization. They had learned, they had received information, it was untested information, they brought it to the police, which is what they should do, and from there the investigation culminated.
How many different, I know you don't want to get into specifics, but how many different teams could this coach have potentially been involved with?
That's something I can't speak to. You would have to, I'm not going to comment on her, and in fact, I don't actually have the roster of all the teams. I don't know if it was more than one team. That's just information that I can't provide. And I think you can understand why. It's a very slippery slope. We start to get into being able to get closer to identification. There's local teams, rural teams, and that's just something we're not going to talk about today.
But the victim was under 16 when this.
Yes.
How did this third party find out about this information? Was it through seeing something? Was it through communications that they saw?
Well, I can only speak anecdotally. I'm not going to comment on that because that's part of the investigation. That's called an initial potential disclosure, and that is obviously very important to the court process. But typically, someone could have witnessed something, somebody could have been told something, somebody could have read something. Again, I know I'm not giving you much clarification there, but that's as much as I can do.
And one of the charges also is assault with a weapon as well, too. How did the suspect use a weapon against the survivor?
Yeah, so I won't be able to get into the specifics of that. There was an assault with a weapon charge that have been laid. Again, it was just part of that entire exploitive, unhealthy relationship that had some criminal elements to it. No, of course not.
And it says here that she was coaching up until this year. Was the suspect currently coaching at the time of her arrest?
No, she was not. It's my understanding, and I've just recently learned this, that yes, she is no longer coaching under any of the hockey umbrellas within Winnipeg, Manitoba, or under Hockey Canada, but I do not know when that stopped.
So you don't know if she was coaching when the investigation started in October?
I'm not aware. No, I don't know the specifics on the time frame.
When are the assaults alleged to have occurred? And was that, within that 2018, the 2019, 2021 range? Was that 2021, 2019?
It was the duration of that time, the between dates of 2019 to 2021. Over here?
The assault charges were?
Oh, the assault charges?
Yeah.
I don't know the breakdown of each specific incident relating to individual charges.
to the investigation? How difficult and how sensitive are these investigations for police and for survivors?
They're extremely difficult. As I mentioned, for a survivor to come forward, there's all different reasons that survivors come forward. You know, I can't speak on the reason that this young lady came forward, but it's harrowing and very brave, and they are difficult for the investigators. This is sensitive, difficult material. Sport is supposed to be safe, so it's difficult for the entire community. It's difficult for me, who has teenagers playing sports. As a parent, you know, it's a difficult, sensitive topic, and unfortunately, you know, we're up here talking about it again, but there is some positive to this. You know, we're one step closer to working through the justice system on this one. And I hope personally that the survivor in this can move forward now in a healthier, peaceful direction.
How old are they now?
I'm sorry, I can't disclose that.
But they are about 18.
Yes.
So there is a potential still for more victims in case will be, as they continue the investigation, any other information that comes out?
Well, it's not dissimilar to any investigation like this, as I mentioned in my earlier answer. You know, when you have a large spectrum organization, there's potential. Anything else?
Danny, I mean, how concerning is this to you as a police officer, as a parent? I mean, what's your message to the wider community and as well as the, you know, the sport community there?
I think I'll end with this. It's just a little definition. Grooming in sport involves slowly gaining trust before systematically breaking down interpersonal barriers. Athletes can become trapped into compliance because they trust, like, or even love their abusers. The grooming does not stop with the athlete. The grooming is also involved often in the family. Gaining that trust from the family members will make it easier to have access to the child. So I'm going to leave it at that. There are plenty of educational websites. You can look at the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, as well the Winnipeg Police Service. We have a 3-part video about sexual abuse in sport. I really encourage all parents, children, and coaches to take a look at these pieces of educational information.
I do have
Thank
one
you.
last quick question.
Okay.
Is Winnipeg Police working with police in any other regions in Manitoba or even outside the province in this investigation? Meaning, has this coach potentially...
This investigation is limited right now to the city limits with our city police. Thank you.